Clap sync. This shit right here, this shit is amazing. This might be my new favorite liquor. And it says limited edition on there. But they've been selling it locally around me for like a year now. So I hope it doesn't. Yeah, I hope it's not limited. Fucking Captain Morgan Cherry Vanilla. Delicious. Delicious. Not sponsored, by the way. Here at Matt Presents, we are nothing if not diverse in our taste of film. Sure, I do a lot of horror franchises on this series, but it's because horror franchises so frequently have, like, just a bunch of fucking installments. So that helps. But today we're doing something very different. Today we're doing something that that's pretty different from anything we've done on Drunk Ranking so far, actually. It's the Bring It On series. Look at this. There's this, like, very nice slip cover. It's got, like, a dumb quote on there, but, you know, it's got the pom-poms, it's got the title, pretty, like, minimalistic, and then you get you take it out. You take it out of the sleeve, and it's this ugly-ass, like, hey, here's just, like, a random picture. I think all of these are from, like, the posters, except the one for Bring It On. The one for the first Bring It On, I don't know if this is gonna show up on camera, but it's, like, a little fuzzier than the others, and it looks photoshopped. Like, it looks like poorly photoshopped. You know, like, I'm sure there's stuff going on with these other ones. I'm sure they were not in front of these backgrounds, but the one for Bring It On looks particularly photoshopped. Yes, for the last few weeks, I've been drunk tweeting the cheerleader movie franchise Bring It On over on my Twitter @Mad_presents. I'm not calling it X. I am not drunk Xing. Fuck you, Elon. No one calls it X. Like, the only time people call it X is when they're like, did you hear it's called X now? And it's like, no the fuck it's not. This is like when Snoop Dogg tried to rebrand as Snoop Lion. Anyways, I got a bottle of wine. I've also got this, like, nearly finished pina colada that I'm gonna try to finish before we get into the first movie here. I made it a little icier than I usually do, and I know pina coladas are supposed to be real icy, but I don't really like icy booze, you know? Like, brain freeze and being drunk just don't go well together. Anyways, let's begin our journey with the worst Bring It On movie. Bring It On, All or Nothing, the third movie in the franchise. In this film, our rich, white, preppy protagonist's dad has to move jobs, so that means she now has to go to the poor black school on the other side of town. It is exactly as bad as it sounds. It's the preppy white girl learning to get along at the black school. That's the movie. That's the fucking movie, man.
Hey, looks like we finally about to get some snow on campus.
Look, y'all. Ball baby must have got separated from her mother.
What's she doing here?
I don't know.
This ain't the OC.
My dear partner, Mitzi, has this, like, great aversion to the word cringy and cringe, and I get it. I get why. It is a word that has definitely been co-opted by the very worst people in our society, often just to describe people, like, having fun and doing stuff they enjoy, and it's like, yeah, 99% of the time when someone's like, ooh, this is so cringy, it's like, fuck off. Just fuck right off. So, generally I try to avoid calling things cringy. My go-to is embarrassing. That's generally my replacement word, is embarrassing. And honestly, embarrassing tends to get to what I actually mean a little better quite often. Like, it's generally a more effective word than cringy. This is not embarrassing. This is fucking cringy. This movie makes me cringe. Just start to finish. Every single second of this movie makes me fucking cringe.
Hello, Sherlock. Another piercing? They're my keys, you perv.
This movie is not merely embarrassing, it is painfully embarrassing. So there's Coke product placement in most of these movies. A few of them are missing it, but most notably in this one, in Bring It On All or Nothing. What a fucking nothing title. In Bring It On All or Nothing, there's a lot of Pepsi product placement, actually. There's no Coke, it's only Pepsi. And just gotta say, Pepsi backed the wrong horse on this one. Like, Coke, not that all of the ones Coke appears in are good, although it does appear in the best one of the series. Pepsi got one Bring It On movie, and they picked the wrong one. And here's the thing, like, Bring It On 1 was, like, surprisingly good, and then the second one, like, was nothing. So it didn't really sway me one way or the other. This absolutely extinguished any goodwill I had built up for the franchise. Like, third movie in, I'm like, no, fuck this noise. I'm struggling to think of anything else to say. There's, like, so very little going on in this movie that... Like, I already described it all. It's the preppy white girl has to go to the poor black school, and she has to learn how to deal with the poor black people, and of course by the end of it they're like, oh hell yeah, you're one of us, you know. It's exactly as bad as you think. It is exactly as bad as you think. They do something I really hate in movies where they, like, make comments about how fat a character is, and then she's, like, still, like, moderately attractive. She's just, like maybe 10 pounds heavier than the lead. Now, in fairness, they do kind of have, like, a joke about this early on, where, like, they're getting onto, like, one of the girls... in the cheerleading squad for being too fat, and it's, of course, the only girl in the squad who has, like, any figure whatsoever. It's just like, pull. Oh, there's, like, a shape there? You're so fat. And this leads to one of the girls at the black school being like, oh, she's so fat, ooh, and even she's, like, kind of getting into it. She's like, haha, yeah, I'm so fat, aren't I? And it's like, no, you're not. You're not fat at all.
I'm at Carisha. Yeah, that's my face. Yeah, when I shake it. Yeah, it's like an earth.
Like, I doubt you're even, like, overweight. You look fine. God, what else even happens in this movie? I have, like, so thoroughly repressed my memory of this film. And it doesn't help that the fifth movie in the series has, like, almost the same plot, but in reverse. So I'm trying to think of stuff that happens in this film, and I'm like, oh, there was that. No, wait, that was the fifth film. Well, that was the fifth film. That's also the fifth film. Bring It On All or Nothing. I'm going with nothing. Although, honestly, I almost would prefer nothing to this, because this actually hurt me. Nothing can't hurt me. There's some, like, more nothing movies in this franchise. This one hurt me. And for that, I am going to condemn it to not being discussed very much. Let us move on.
1, 2, 3, 4, go back. 6.
Bring it on, fight to the finish. I sure did have to fight to finish this movie. This is the reverse of the third movie. This is the poor Mexican girl's mother marries like a rich white dude, and now she's gotta go to the rich white dude school. But of course, like, she brings a lot of her friends from her old school over too, and then so there's still like the awkward white girl who like slowly becomes more hood over the course of the movie.
Back up, skanks, before I slap that chair out of your mouth. I mean, you think you can just roll up on us without even thinking about it? Yo, we do not play that game.
This one also makes me cringe, but like far less often than the third. The third one, it was like start to finish, like, ugh. This one, it was only occasionally. I was like, ugh. Just to start us off here, the Mexican part of town has like this, you know, filthy brown, yellow, dirty Mexico filter on it. Like it's a fucking episode of Breaking Bad or some shit.
Guys, I know exactly what we need to do.
Mommy! Yeah!
That's just fucking racist, man. Like, I feel like this movie is trying not to be racist. It's very, like, positive representation of, like, Mexican culture and you know, like, growing up in, like, well, Los Angeles. Like, all of these take place in Los Angeles. How many fucking high schools are there in Los Angeles? There's like 10 across all these movies. But like, it's trying to, like, depict these people in, like, a positive light. But then it pulls that shit where it's like, oh yeah, all of like the Mexican part of town, always gonna be yellow, always gonna be dirty. And it's like, why? That's just... It's just racist. Like, I'm sorry, that's a fucking racist thing to do. So, like, a big plot point in this movie is that, like, the main girl, the girl from the Mexican school who now has to go to the white school, which has, like, a terrible cheerleading team. Their cheerleading team sucks, and they also share, like, a courtyard with this private school whose cheerleading team is fucking great. So she's at this school and their cheer team sucks, and so she's getting her, like, rich dad to pull strings to get her other cheerleader friends into the new school. But so then, you know, like, the villain is, like, trying to get back at them, and in doing so, they report the fact that, like, hey, these two are, like, not actually supposed to be here. Oh, they need to get sent back to, like, their old school. They, of course, make an illegal alien joke about it. So fucking funny, dude. Great job. I don't know, I guess those characters are supposed to be fucking shitheads. It's fine for them to say some shit that's, like, kinda racist. Because, you know, they fucking suck. Fuck those guys. But then in, like, the third act, they're just like, oh yeah, I forgot, your team for, like, the All-Star Championship, it doesn't even have to be girls from the same school, so it's like half girls from her new school and half girls from her old school start this All-Star squad, and it's like, why didn't you bring that up, like, an hour ago? Why is this something you're dumping on us, like, right before the big finale? This is Cheerus Ex Machina.
Look, Avery was right. All-star squads are nothing like high school squads. It doesn't matter where you live. We can cheer together and become a whole new all-star team.
It's just stupid. It's just stupid. This one also hurts. This one is also not fun to watch. It's less painful than the third, like I already said, but no, there's no.
Like me. I'm at the university. I'm psyched. I'm here. Hope I'm the one you choose to cheer.
Bring it on again. kind of a decent sequel title, I guess. Way better than any of the other sequel titles, except maybe like Cheer or Die. Cheer or Die is like an okay sequel given what happens in that film. So this is the only one that is explicitly about a college cheer team. There's a few where they're vague about what age the girls are, but this one is the only one that is explicitly a college cheer team. And naturally, as happens in all of these movies, the main character has like a boyfriend, but he's going to a different college, and then she meets the cool new guy who she's got chemistry with. So now, like, ooh, what's gonna happen? Is she gonna choose the new boy or like the old boy? And then the old boy is always the old boy is cheating, and so she has to she like runs back to the new guy. That happens in all of these fucking movies. Every single one of them. Not every single one of them. That's an exaggeration. But it happens in at least like 4 or 5 of them. And there's only 7 in the series, so there's a gay character in this movie. There's gay characters in a lot of these movies, and they always it's never as satisfying as you want it to be. The only slightly good one was the guy in the 4th film that everyone just assumed was gay, and then it was like, haha, plot twist, I'm not gay. In this one, there's a gay character, and he's like talking with this jock at a party, and they get into an argument about how much they can bench press, and like I'm like, clearly these two should end up together. Clearly, these two characters should end up together by the end of the film, and they just don't. They never make the right characters gay. They have gay characters, but it's never the right gay characters. I mean, okay, one of those guys was gay. Like, that's what set this up. I'm like, okay, he's like revealed he's gay, and that leads to this argument between them, and then they start talking about how much each of them can bench press, and it's like, well, yeah, these two should get together, and no, of course that's not gonna happen, but... And, like, it would have been so inconsequential, like, the jock he's arguing with is not that important to the plot. It would have just been a funny thing. It would have been a funny little thing that would have elevated this movie ever so slightly. But no, this movie is, like, determined to just be boring. This movie feels like a Disney Channel original movie, and like one of the lesser Disney Channel original movies. Like it's so predictable. It is every plot beat you have come to expect from like a high school drama. I know I said they were in college, but it's still a fucking high school drama. It doesn't help that there are like a lot of actresses in this franchise who were on Disney Channel, who were in Disney Channel shows. I think the fat girl from Bring It On was like on a Disney Channel show. She was like a Disney Channel. One of the black girls from the 3rd movie was on like Zack and Cody or Hannah Montana. I forget. Was it this movie? It might have been this movie. One of these movies just has fucking Spencer from iCarly, Crazy Steve. Why can't Jeremy Trainer? That's his name. Jeremy Trainer of iCarly and Drake and Josh fame is just in one of these movies. I really want to say it's this one. I really want to say it's Bring It On Again. Might be wrong about that. Could be wrong. I didn't write it down. But he's in one of these. Like, briefly. He has, like, it's like a 2-second appearance. Yeah, I would say this one's pretty boring. I don't know if I would go so far as to call it a nothing movie. It's not like that bad, but it's like a lesser Disney Channel original movie. That's exactly how to describe this film. It's not interesting. It's not an interesting movie. I am not interested in this film. I don't know, I feel like I'm skimping on details on some of these, but it's like, what even is there to talk about? What even happens in this movie? It's just a cheerleader movie. It's the most predictable cheerleader movie you could fucking imagine. It's boring. But, I mean, at least boring is better than painful, so... I mean, you can be painfully boring. I have seen some painfully boring films in my day, but this one is not painful, it's just boring. So, props!
We're from the West Coast, the mighty, mighty West Coast. We ain't got no fear. We're the best and it's our year.
Bring It On, In It to Win It, the fourth film. What another fucking generic-ass title. If the second movie was a boring Disney Channel original movie, then this one is a funny Disney Channel original movie. Like, there's a lot of jokes in this that I liked, and there's also some stuff that's, like, kind of not intended as a joke, but that I thought was really funny anyways. I mentioned the gay character who's, like, plot twist, I'm not gay. that actually was kind of funny in this one. But also, like, this one... The rival cheer teams in this one are the Jets and the Sharks. And it's like... on the nose much? Why do I keep putting the cap back on? I'm a fucking dumbass. I'm leaving the cap off. Letterboxd describes this movie as West Side Story inspired, which is kind of a weird thing to say, because, you know, there's another story that inspired West Side Story, but also clearly this movie is more inspired by West Side Story than that other story that inspired it. Like, not only is it, like, the Jets and the Sharks, there's also, they do, like, a cheer face-off on the Universal Studios backlot. This one takes place at Universal Studios, Florida. So they have this, like, West Side Story style cheer off on the fucking backlot of Universal Studios that, like, kind of resembles West Side Story. And of course there's, like, a Romeo and Juliet thing where, like, a girl from one cheer team, guy from another cheer team kind of hooking up. And then by the end of it, they have to form that, like half of both of their teams get, like, injured, so, like, neither team can compete, and they're like, okay, it's time to, like, swallow our pride, and we're gonna work together now. So they have to come up with a name for their new team, and someone suggests something super generic, like the Dream Team or something to that effect. I forget. Super generic name. But then they go with the Shets. The Shets? Not... The girl says, like, oh, no one else came up with anything better. And I'm like, yes, they did. Yes, they did. Going with the super generic name would have been better than the Shets. This movie is shit. Not shit. It's not quite shit. It's kind of funny. But it is shit. And then, of course, the Shets go on to win the big cheer competition, right? That's all of these have them, except one, we'll get to it, but all of these just end with them winning the big cheer competition. Honestly, like, I started mentioning this in my tweets, but, like, the big third act cheer competition is always the most boring part of the movie to me, because I'm like, alright, time to just watch some cheer routines, I guess. Guess we're just, gonna sit here and watch some cheerleaders cheer. I guess. Like the important part of all this, like okay, maybe I could sit there and go like, oh, well, they were pretty good, and wow, they were pretty good too. But, like, the important part is when it gets to the end and the judges are like, oh, this team wins. And, like, frankly, I have no dissenting opinion against the judges because I don't care that much. I admit this is completely personal bias. Like, if you care about cheerleading, you will maybe possibly enjoy these sequences. Maybe not. Fuck, like, I don't know anyone who's, like, that into cheerleading, so I couldn't, like, call them up and be like, hey, like, are these, like, good cheer routines even? But, like, I don't know, they all seemed fine to me. Like, I never had, like, any major issues with any of them. I did, one of my college buddies was a male cheerleader, and he got into it because, like, he had, like, some injury that kept him out of, like, most sports, and cheer was, like, the one sport he could do. So, you know, like, no shame in that, I don't think. And, you know, like, it's kept him in shape and meeting girls. I don't think he's gay just for doing that. Although, after college, he did move to Colorado with another guy, so, you know, who knows? I'm gonna send this to him. He watches my videos sometimes. I'm gonna send this to him. How you doing, Brett? Yeah, I think that about covers it. It's an incredibly generic but kind of funny cheerleader movie. Like, there's no surprises here. You're not gonna be, like, blown away by anything in this movie, but, you know, if you just want, like, a few laughs, you want, like, a half-decent cheerleader movie, you could certainly do worse. I mean, this one's halfway up the list. This is better than half of the movies in this franchise. I guess, this is the midpoint, right? Because there's 7 movies, so there's 3 that are better, 3 that are worse.
Diablos! Take that ball away, and score!
Bring it on, Cheer or Die. Somehow I am talking about a generic-ass slasher movie, even in my cheerleader review. I actually put this franchise in a poll a while back, and it lost out to Police Academy. And honestly, I'm kind of glad I did, because in between the time I ran that poll and now, they released this movie. Bring It On, Cheer or Die. The inexplicable horror movie in this cheerleader franchise. I don't know, that's kind of just been like a popular thing lately. It's like, thing you know, but a horror movie, you know, like, we had, like, the Banana Splits movie, and now we got, like, The Mean One, and Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and Bring It On, Cheer or Die. Now, in trying to subvert their own franchise, they kind of stepped right into a different cliche, which is, like, the cheerleaders getting murdered in a slasher film, but, I mean, it's something different. Bring It On, Cheer or Die is a slasher movie. On Twitter I called it, I Know What You Cheered Last Summer. So there was this cheerleading team, and one of them was, like, kind of dorky, kind of awkward, and then the cheer captain insisted that she go on the top of the pyramid even though she had a bloody nose, and then because of the bloody nose she slipped and died. So the identical twin sister of that cheerleader trained her 2 twin daughters from birth to murder cheerleaders. And then she became the principal of a school where she didn't allow the cheerleaders to do stunts. And also the cheer captain who killed her twin daughter's daughter is now the cheer captain. Wait, I said daughter, twin daughter? Twin sister. Fuck. I fucked that up. It's such a fucking nonsense. It's such a ridiculous twist, even though it's like a little bit obvious. Like, it's obvious from the start that, like, the principal doesn't like the cheerleaders, and it's because, like, the one cheerleader died all those years ago, and now, like, you're kind of suspecting, you kind of expect her to be the killer, but, like, ooh, it's her, like, twin daughters, actually, and I don't know, it's, like, weirdly both a completely batshit and kinda predictable twist? Like, I didn't know you could do both. Okay, the killer's motivation is obvious from the start. And even, like, maybe not who the killer is specifically, but at least who the killer is connected with is obvious from the start. But then the direction they go with it is just like, what the fuck? What are you talking about, man? What the fuck? And they have, like, a notebook of, like, slasher character cliches and how many points each of them is worth. So they're like trying to earn the most points by killing, like, the right slasher cliche characters, which honestly kind of reminds me of the Scream 4 mobile game that I played it a lot in high school. That was a really fun mobile game. I think it's not available anymore. But I still have, like, an iPod that'll run it, that has it installed somewhere. That game was fun. You got points for killing people in a particular order. But yeah, obviously that's, like, a very kind of Scream thing, although, I don't know, at this point, like, meta commentary on the slasher genre has become its own cliche within the slasher genre, to the point there are movies that will make fun of the cliche of making fun of slasher cliches. This one doesn't. It's a very obvious, very by-the-numbers slasher movie. But, you know, there is stuff I like about it. Like, okay, it's like, kinda well written, and then I think it's kneecapped by, like, the actual film they made. Like, okay, this movie's PG-13, okay? PG-13 slasher, bad idea, generally. And it really hurts this movie, because it means there's, like, no good kills. There are no, like, fun, bloody, gory kills. It even, like, hampers some of the kills that do happen. There's a girl who, like, gets beat to death with a toilet seat, and then they find her body later, and they flip her over, and she has, like, the tiniest little gash on her forehead. No blood at all, just kind of, like, mark on her forehead. Like, you might as well have just had, like, a Band-Aid on her head for all the, like... she doesn't look dead. It doesn't look like that could kill her. There's a girl in this movie who wears an outfit she has, like, a white crop top on, like a pure white crop top on, and then she has, like, a white shirt on underneath it that has, like, this red splatter design, and it's like, ooh, it looks like she got murdered, haha. And to their credit, she is not the next one to die. I really thought she was gonna be the next one to die, but no, yeah, that was a setup to her getting killed. That was foreshadowing, like, it looks like she's, like, bleeding, and then she dies. Haha, we got her. But it was a good outfit. I liked the outfit, actually. I also like the casting on the main character. And like, they did a great job with her hair. Whoever did her hair, she has really nice hair in this movie, and she looks she looks like an 80s final girl, right? Like if this were an 80s slasher film, just like imagine the generic idea of an 80s slasher final girl, and it's like, yeah, no, that's her. That is the main character of this movie. You nailed it. The writers show their age in making this film. The main character has this like ex-boyfriend who's kind of stalkery, and one of the characters is like, yeah, he's like such a Slender Man stalker. And it's like, first off, you don't know anything about Slenderman. Second off, Slenderman hasn't been relevant in like 5 years, probably more, probably way more than that. This movie came out last year. Like, let me emphasize this. This movie came out last year, and they're making fucking Slenderman jokes. As a matter of fact, the final scene of this film technically takes place in the future, because they're at this big, like, they're at regionals. They're at cheer regionals. And it's established that cheer regionals happen after Halloween because they're practicing for regionals the weekend of Halloween in the movie. But then they're at cheer regionals, and it's cheer regionals 2023, which means the final scene of this film takes place after Halloween 2023, which, as of recording this video, hasn't happened. The final scene of this movie takes place in the future. Chalk it right up there with Hellraiser 4 and Leprechaun 4. This is a future movie. The killer throughout most of this, and when I say the killer, I mean one of the two killers. That's also very Scream-like, I guess, is having two killers, although in this case it's twins. One of them wears the school mascot costume, which is, they're the Diablos, so it's like this big devil costume. Apparently, she can't see out of the mask very well, because her aim is absolute shit. Like, I have never seen a slasher, like, she throws knives, and then she gets, like, a bow and arrow and starts shooting at them. I have never seen a slasher villain miss this many times. Like, she misses so much in this movie. Which, like, props for realism. That doesn't happen in slasher films a lot. They don't miss. They just don't miss. So, you know, props for having her miss constantly. She always misses. She misses like 90% of the shots she takes. But she also misses 100% of the shots she doesn't take. Remember that. Take that one to the bank. Tell the people at the bank that they miss 100% of the shots they don't take. And they'll be like, damn, that's so insightful. Would you like to become the CEO of bank? And then you'll be like, yeah, sure. And then you'll make a bunch of money. Trust me, this will happen. It works. I'm drunk. The lead character has, like, a fear of heights. This is not well established at all. It gets, like, a throwaway line early on in the film. And then later she has to go up on, like, the roof of the school to escape. And it's like, whoa, she overcame her fear, and it's like, that was not well established enough for this to be, like, a big moment. She has to, like, come off the roof, and, like, her friends are there to catch her, except, like, they're, like, a few feet away from the building, and she just does this, like, straight back 90-degree trust fall, and instead of, like, falling directly backwards, like she would, based on how she just falls, she instead is like, fuck physics, falls backwards, and then, like, flies over to where her friends are. That's not how physics works. It doesn't work that way. I'm criticizing a lot about this film, but it was pretty fun, pretty entertaining. Like it's a pretty generic slasher film. It's not a film you have to like seek out right now, but it's fine. It's fine. Like, if it had better kills, honestly, like, if it had some, like, good fucking kills in there, that maybe could have elevated it to being, like, an actually enjoyable slasher movie. As is, it's fine. It's kind of conceptually funny that it exists. Like, this completely normal cheerleader franchise, and then just, oh, here's a horror movie. Do you think all these films take place in the same universe? Is Kirsten Dunst's character from the first movie gonna listen to like a true crime podcast that talks about the El Diablo murders? Bring It On, Cheer or Die. Pretty mediocre slasher film, but worth some laughs. Kind of well written in spite of itself, but not like exceptionally well written. You know, Cheer or Die really helped me accept putting this at second place, because I'm like, okay, I've got an extremely middle-of-the-road slasher movie, not great but kind of funny, and an extremely middle-of-the-road cheerleader movie, not great but kind of funny, and it's like, which one of these two do I rank higher? Because they're kinda on equal footing. And I went with Cheer or Die because I'm like, well, personally, I just prefer a mediocre slasher film to a mediocre cheerleader film. But at that point, I kind of have to accept that this ranking is like 100% subjective. And if I'm going 100% subjective with this shit, Bring It On worldwide #CheerSmacked has to go in second place, because it is the second most entertaining film of the franchise. Now make no mistakes, this movie is bad. This is, objectively speaking, probably the worst made film of the entire franchise, but it's so much more entertaining than any of the others. It's so fucking funny. I mean, like, right down to the fucking title, man. Like, all of these have the most generic-ass titles. Like, Bring It On, All or Nothing. Bring It On, In It to Win It. Bring It On, Get Your Head in the Game. Bring It On, Where We Go One, We Go All. And then you've got Bring It On worldwide #CheerSmacked, which has to be one of the very worst titles I have ever heard in my entire life. And yet it is infinitely more memorable than any of the other titles in this series. This movie is cheer-diculous.
That's ridiculous.
This is like the pure, distilled version of middle-aged man writing for teenage girls. Like, there is a massive overuse of hashtags. They do hashtags way too fucking much in this hashtag movie. They also, like, it's kind of a running gag of the series that they just replace part of a word with cheer. You can even see it here. It's like, this is not a democracy, it's a cheerocracy. But this one does it way more than any of the other movies in the series. It's cheer this, cheer that, cheer everything. And of course they have to have, like, the one guy in there who's like, ooh, I don't like smartphones or technology, like this movie goes all the way up to saying smartphones make people dumb. They don't actually say that. To their credit, they don't actually say that, which is why this is a better movie than Loquisha, but they do everything but say it. It's also absolutely the cheapest looking one of the series. Like, I mean, okay, part of this might be, right, like, the first 5 Bring It On movies, it's 2000 to 2009, right? 9 years, 5 movies. And then it is another 8 years before this movie comes out. Like, almost as much time elapsed between Bring It On and Bring It On 5 as elapsed between Bring It On 5 and this movie. So it's clear this was just like we have like a moderately popular IP. Okay, here's like the tiniest budget we can possibly give you. Just crank out a new one as fast as you can, thanks. It's the Police Academy 7 of the series. Although unlike Police Academy 7, it's funny. So that maybe explains why this one feels so much cheaper, but this one feels so much cheaper. Vivica A. Fox is in this movie.
Hey there, Cheer World. It's your cheer goddess. Here to talk about everything worth talking about in the only sport that matters.
There she is. I am approximately as drunk as Eric Estrada was when he filmed that scene. And she is never on set with, like, the other characters. Rihanna is in one of these movies. I wanna say the 5th one? Rihanna's in the 5th one? Rihanna's in one of these movies. And it's clear she, like, filmed all of her stuff in, like, a day. And, like, her performance is completely phoned in. She was there for a paycheck, and you know what? Get that paycheck, girl. But she's at least on set with the other characters. Vivica is never on set with these other characters. She plays the cheer goddess who has, like, her own internet show where she delivers worldwide cheer news and gives advice to cheerleaders. I don't know, probably all of that was filmed in like a day. Honestly, ahead of the curve filming something over Zoom for your movie. You know, it was 2017, you didn't have to do that, but you sure did it anyways. The, like, one kind of, like, genuinely funny thing this movie did is, like, every Bring It On sequel starts with, like, something weird and creepy happening, and then, oh, it was a dream, haha, and now we're going on with the movie. Every single one of the sequels does this, right up until Bring It On Worldwide #CheerSmacked, which opens on these cheerleaders at, like, you know, this big cheer competition, and then The Truth, which, as a name for a secret organization, is fucking stupid, but it is pretty accurate to that type of dumb secret organization. I could see, like, some, like, MAGA bros coming together and starting some, like, secret organization called The Truth. So, The Truth hijacks their cheerleader session, cheer competition session, and one of them, like the leader's just like, "You're not dreaming," and then it's like, oh, what do you know? It's the one movie that doesn't open on a fake out dream sequence. So I mean, I guess that's kind of clever. I guess they kind of subverted themselves on that one. I need to be further from the microphone. I am, like, peaking the audio like fucking crazy. The guy that the main character falls in love with in this movie is, like, a graffiti artist, right? Like they see, like, some mural he's painted, and she's like, "Oh, this is pretty nice," and he's like, "Yeah, I really admire the artist behind this." And me, when I see that happen, I'm like, it's him. He's the one who fucking painted this. Fuck you. It's him. He's the one who did it. And then later on, it's like, oh yeah, I was the one who painted this. And I'm like, wow, it was him. What a twist. And Mitzi, who was watching this movie with me, is like, oh, I didn't realize that was supposed to be a twist. I thought that was just supposed to be. Like Mitzi didn't even think they were doing a real reveal with this. They're just like, oh, yeah, no, he painted this. And then when they try to reveal that he painted it, it's like, yeah, I knew that already. It's like a twist so obvious that someone who is only kind of half paying attention to the movie didn't realize it was supposed to be a twist. I held off on doing this franchise until, like, I had moved out here under the assumption that, like, oh yeah, Mitzi, you'll love watching these with me. And then Mitzi only ended up watching, like, 3 of these with me. They were asleep by the time I watched most of these. Anyways, bring it on, worldwide, #CheerSmacked. It's pretty fucking ridiculous. Like, if someone, like, came over to my house and saw that I had the Bring It On movies, and was like, oh, you've got those, like, funny, ridiculous cheerleader movies. Let's watch a funny, ridiculous cheerleader movie. I'd be like, hell yeah, man. And I would put on Bring It On worldwide #CheerSmacked. Because it's the funny one. It's the funny cheerleader movie. Like the funny, stupid, ridiculous cheerleader movie I wanted out of this franchise. So, yeah. Objectively, probably the worst. In terms of entertainment, the second best. Which leaves only one film.
I'm bitchin', great hair. The boys all love to stare. I'm wanted, I'm hot, I'm everything you're not.
Well, you guys know me. I don't like to put the first movie in the franchise at number 1. I think to date the only time that has happened is Hellraiser, and arguably kind of Ernest, and arguably also kind of the SNL movies. Generally I will put something other than the first film in the series at number 1, but in Bring It On's case, this is the only good movie of the series. Like, genuinely, unironically, no qualifiers, the one good movie of this series. I was surprised by how much I liked Bring It On. Bring It On is actually, like, a very good movie. I think, especially for the time it came out, it's sort of a reflection on how white people have, like, appropriated a lot of black culture. Because in this story, Kirsten Dunst becomes the captain of this cheer team, only to shock of shocks discover that all of their cheer routines have been stolen from the nearby Compton High, where all the black students go naturally. And of course this causes this whole big crisis where they have to, like, revamp their routine because their routine was stolen from these other girls, and hey, now these other girls have, like, the chance to compete against them. And honestly, about, like, halfway through the film, this is gonna contain spoilers for Bring It On in case you care. About halfway through the film, I'm kind of like, well, okay, but my one problem is that now I kind of want Compton High to win. And then Compton High wins. Compton High just went. They just went ahead and did that. I really wasn't expecting that to happen. Like, this movie is pretty ballsy. This movie is ballsier than not only every cheerleader movie I've seen, but, like, most high school sports films I've seen. Like, they dared to not let the main characters win. Now, of course, this does cause the problem where I'm like, okay, but this film would be so much better if it were from the perspective of the Compton High girls. The Compton High girls have the better story here, right? There was this other team that was stealing cheers from them, and then they made it all the way to nationals and beat those bitches. Yeah. I don't know, it is kind of interesting seeing it from the other perspective. It is interesting, and, like, they go a great ways to, like, humanizing, Kirsten Dunst and her cheer team in this, and they're gracious losers when it happens. They're gracious. They're like, oh yeah, you know what, you earned it, you deserve it, so, it is an interesting, story, to be sure. It does have its fair share of cliches. I mentioned earlier the boyfriend who's off somewhere else, and of course he's cheating so that our main character can get with the guy she actually has chemistry with. Thanks a lot. I saw Legally Blonde 2. Not Legally Blonde 2. I saw Legally Blonde as well. Thanks for bringing that one back. Also, she has, like, the very pinnacle, cliche, obnoxious younger brother that every teenage girl had in every teenage girl movie and TV show from the 2000s. It's like, oh, it's the 2000s annoying younger brother. Hi, how you doing, kid?
And you sent a girl to the hospital on your first day. Aye, aye, Captain.
You were listening on the phone? Mom!
But, I mean, props to them. The story, the overall story of the film was interesting and, like, genuinely surprised me with its ending. So I gotta give some props here. I was not expecting this movie to be as good as it is. And I am clearly not, like, the audience for this film. If you love cheerleader movies, this must be, like, The Godfather to you. This is, like, the very pinnacle of cheerleader movies. So there's a gay character in this one, too. Very progressive for the year 2000. And there's also, like, this kind of goth-y outsider girl, like, not so goth that she can't, like, end up on the cheerleader squad, but, a goth-y character, and she's, like, pretty heavily implied to be a lesbian in this film. Like, a lot of the other characters outright accuse her of being a lesbian, and then, like, later she finds out, like, the one gay cheerleader is gay, and he says something really gay, and she's like,
You trying to tell me you speak fag?
I'm like, okay, well, that's like, this character's gay. This character is gay. like, I don't know, after that, it's hard to, like, deny. There's, like, a really big swing set in this movie. There's, like, a full-on adult-sized swing set in this movie. I don't know why that stood out enough to me that I wrote it down in my notes, but that stood out enough to me that I wrote it down in my notes. There's, like, a full-on adult-sized swing set in this movie. And apart from that, I really can't think of anything else I have to say about Bring It On or the franchise that it inspired. Honestly, at a point, I don't even know why they kept using the Bring It On name. Like, it's just a cheerleader. At some point, it's just a cheerleader movie. Anyways, I gotta wrap this one up quick. I'm running out of space on my phone. Coming up, I am gonna drunk tweet Fast X, since there was another Fast and the Furious movie, and I do actually kind of care about the Fast and the Furious franchise. There was another Paranormal Activity movie, but, like, fuck that franchise. Bring It On! Bring It On was better than the fucking Paranormal Activity franchise. I would rather watch this franchise again than the Paranormal Activity movies. So, follow me over at Matt_presents. Next time on Drunk Rankings, I think I'm gonna put it to a poll, because I kind of wanted to drunk tweet Flash, but then I'm like, I don't know, I could do a drunk ranking of, like, the entire DCEU, or I could drunk tweet all of the live-action Hanna-Barbera movies. I am only putting this poll on my Twitter, so go over to my Twitter and vote. Which would you rather see me drunk tweet, the DCEU or all the live-action Hanna-Barbera movies? And until next time, I'm Matt. I have almost finished an entire bottle of wine while talking about the Bring It On franchise.